Hey, Motor Man here, and today I'm at the parking lot because I'm going to show you some tips, tricks, and techniques on U-turns. I'm going to show you the 5 biggest mistakes that I see that happen in my class all the time and what that prevents people from making a simple U-turn. We're going to be using 3 techniques. The first, most important, the proper use of your head and eyes. Wherever you turn your head and eyes, that's where the bike will go because your hands follow your eyes. Second technique is the proper use of the friction zone. That's the area of clutch travel between completely open when you release it and completely closed when you pull it to the grip. We're going to stay in that gray area. It's about 1 inch wide on most motorcycles, and we're going to fluctuate the clutch within that 1 inch. My revs are somewhere around 1800 RPMs. Third technique, proper use of the rear brake. A little bit of light, steady pressure on the rear brake is going to help you. It's mainly clutch and throttle, but the rear brake is a little helper. Now, I do a lot of videos here on YouTube. I think I got like 1,800 of them, and about 1,200 deal with tips, tricks, and techniques. If that's not enough for you, 1,200 free videos on tips, tricks, and techniques, well, get a copy of my Ride Like a Pro Experience video. That'll show you the exact order you need to learn these techniques. Makes things much easier. It's just 20 bucks, download or DVD. Anyway, I'm going to get right to it, show you how this works. Remember, I'm going to show you the mistakes, the most likely mistakes. I know those mistakes because I see it all the time in my class. It takes most people 15 to 20 minutes, an hour at the most to learn how to make a proper U-turn. And we're going to use these parking spaces here in this parking lot. The spaces are 9 feet apart. So I'm going to start with 3 parking spaces. When you do this in a parking lot where there's nothing for you to hit. That's why I'm here. You can use as many parking spots as you want. If your best U-turn is 50 feet, well, start with 50 feet and narrow it down little by little. Your goal should be 24 feet or less because that's what you got out on the road. If you got 2 lanes, it's 24 feet. That's where you might want to make your U-turn. So let's get right to it. I'm going to show you exactly how this works. All right, this first one that I'm going to show you is the correct way to do it. I'm going to be pulling up to one of these lines here. I'm going to use the 3 parking spaces, and I'm going to turn my head and eyes as far over my left shoulder as possible. Of course, I'll be in the friction zone, a little bit of pressure on the rear brake. It's going to look like this. All right, so that was the correct way. And notice I didn't use any kind of dip. I'm going to tell you about the dip right now. When I come into this turn, and this is very helpful for people who are going too slow while doing this. Too slow means anything under 5 miles an hour. So this is going to help those people. Before I get to the edge there of that white line, I'm going to dip the motorcycle out to the left, bring it to the white line on the right, and then snap my head and eyes. That's going to give me a little bit of momentum. Again, still in the friction zone, a little pressure on the rear brake, and head and eyes. So there you have it, using the dip. I kind of prefer the dip because it gives you that momentum, and I think it makes things easier, and I'm always for doing it the easy way. Now I'm going to show you, number 1 mistake that people make when doing this is instead of turning their head and looking over their shoulder back where they want to go, they simply turn their head to the left. Well, if you do that, the bike will make a left-hand turn instead of a U-turn. That's going to look like this. Don't do this, but I see it all the time in my classes. Here's a student doing exactly that, looking left instead of over the left shoulder. If you do that, your turns are going to be gigantic. I've seen people do this and make a 80 or 90 or 100-foot turn. Eventually they get that U-turn that's sort of more like a half of a circle that's 100 feet wide. Don't do that. Get that head and eyes around. Watch this student. He's got about 80 feet here to make this U-turn. Instead, he just turns his head to the left, the bike goes to the left, and he looks straight, and he almost runs into the sidewalk. Turn your head and eyes over your shoulder. And here's number 2 mistake. Don't do this. What happens is the rider gets into the turn, they start to turn the handlebars, they even turn their head and eyes. But as soon as the bike leans about as far as it leans on the kickstand or a little bit further, they straighten the handlebars. Well, once you straighten the handlebars, your head will look straight and the bike will go straight. You won't make it. It's as simple as that. This mistake is very common, and I'm going to show it to you right now. Watch this student. He starts to lean, straightens the bars, and he goes out of the allotted space. And the next mistake is going too fast. That's usually somewhere 10, 15 miles per hour. The faster you go, the bigger your turning radius. So I'll show you right now what that looks like. This is too fast. You're going too fast now. To avoid that mistake, the too fast U-turn, what you want to do is start whatever area that you're about to make a U-turn in, start a couple of 100 feet away from it, look at your speedometer and see that you're between 6 and 8 miles an hour. And maintain that 6 or 8 miles an hour as you make that turn. If you start to let the clutch out and you go out of the friction zone, that's going to make you pick up even more speed. So don't do that. You got to stay in the friction zone. By the way, the best way to practice using that friction zone is to do the slow race. For our purposes, slow means about a walking pace. You want to go in a straight line. You want to be in the friction zone, just a tiny bit of pressure on the rear brake, and you'll know if you're in that sweet spot of the friction zone if you can rev the motor without picking up speed. If you go to rev the motor and you start picking up speed, you've gone out of the friction zone. All right, now I'm going to narrow this space down to 24 feet because, like I said, that's what you got out on the road. Most roads are, each lane is 12 feet, so you got 2 lanes is 24 feet. Never look at the curb or the white line or the cones like I have set up here. If you look at them, you're going to go right towards them. It's not going to happen. Your best tool is to get yourself either a GoPro camera or have somebody stand there with your phone and video it, and you could tell what mistakes you're making because I just told you the 5 top most common mistakes. For stuff like this, really, you could stay straight up, just let the motorcycle lean under you, and it might be a good idea to scoot up as far as possible so you're nice and close to the hand grips. That gives you much more leverage when you're turning the bars. I got like 6 feet of space here, and that wasn't even as tight as I could turn the motorcycle, so I'll show you the U-turn in under 18 feet. All right, well, that's it. I hope you learned something. Like I said, the most important thing, get that head and eyes around. The faster and further you turn your head and eyes, the tighter your turn is going to be. Like I said, make sure your speed is 7 to 8 or 9 miles per hour. Rev should be about 15 to 1800 RPMs. But what it takes to get really good at this, of course, is practice. It's the same thing. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. Before I go, I want to show you something. The glasses I'm wearing are from Flying Eyes. They were originally made for pilots who have to wear earphones or helmets. But what they're really good at is, first of all, they're shatterproof. And boy, you don't want to get a piece of plastic or glass in your eye, so shatterproof is very important. But they're extremely comfortable. Look at the flexibility. It's amazing. You don't even realize you have them on. With most sunglasses, when I'm riding for an hour or more, I start to get a little bit of pain on the side of my head. You can't even feel these. I got a coupon code below so that you can even save some money, but try them out. Prescription, non-prescription, sunglasses, clear, whatever you like, they've got it. And they got a whole bunch of styles as well. So thanks for watching. If you want to have the straight scoop on how to do this in much greater detail, get a copy of my Ride Like a Pro experience video. It shows you exactly what I do in my classes, and we do it on a whole series of motorcycles. These techniques work on every single bike. Doesn't matter if you got a sport bike, a mini bike, or a scooter, or an electric bicycle. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to comment below.